Steve, and for the next hour, we're going to talk mules and donkeys. And both Steve and I are coming to you now 1 year older, 1 year wiser. How do you feel, Steve?
I feel with my hands mostly.
But folks, he'll be here for the next hour. Happy birthday. You celebrated your birthday last weekend.
Yeah, Saturday I hit the big 7-0.
Very
Uh,
good.
it don't seem right because I still think I'm 42. My wife says I act more like a 12-year-old at times, but that's okay. That's, it keeps her busy. But
That's good. That's
yeah,
good. Well,
but
happy
I'm getting
belated
ready to go on
birthday.
vacation.
Oh, yeah, you're getting ready to go on vacation. Tell us where you're going and what you're
Yes,
doing.
I am. That's why I kind of changed into my clothes, so I'm incognito. You see, but I'm going to a place called Alaska.
Nice. That's a big
Yeah,
place.
yeah, it's a big place. We're going to fly into Anchorage, and then I'm going to go up to Delta, and I've got a friend of mine there. We're going to go out and hunt um, a little bit for about 2 days, depending on what happens. And then we're gonna go back down to Willow and fish for a while. And then that's about 10 days altogether. But you know what? Our mule and donkey people get to have a surprise.
They've got a big surprise. We've done this in the past, but we have not done it this year. This will be the first time we've done it. And it's something that folks really, really enjoy when we do it. So just an FYI, from September 7th through, what's the day you're returning?
August.
August. Oh, September. Geez. From August 7th through, what day are you returning? I forgot.
We'll be returning on the 17th, and we'll start shipping out on the 18th.
So from August 7th to August 17th, we are doing free shipping to the lower 48 states. Free shipping to the lower 48 states. So you can go get your saddle, get your tack, load up on everything. Alaska and Hawaii and international. Sorry, it's just something that we do for the lower 48. So if you're visiting the lower 48, or if you got someone who you can ship it to, it's a great opportunity to do that. And then when you are in the mainland area, pick it up and take it back with you. But you can go check it out. It'll be there for the next 10 days. So go get your stuff, load up, take advantage of that. We haven't done it at all this year. We did it like 3 times last year. And so it's something that we like to do when we can. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get to some questions. So if you're new, hanging out with us, again, I'm Dave, this is Steve, and every single week for about an hour we come and we answer as many mule and donkey questions as you can. We really want you to enjoy your life in the saddle. We want you to enjoy your life leading from the reins, sitting in and driving. We want you to enjoy your life packing, and we don't want you to feel like you're frustrated or you need to give up. There are a lot of small adjustments that you can make, and really that's what we've done over the course of the last, 40 episodes, is we've helped folks make small adjustments to experience big differences in the joy they find with their mule or their donkey. So there's 3 things that we talk about. If you've been watching for a long time, we're grateful that you're back. You know exactly what I'm about to say. First and foremost, just let us know that you're watching, share your name, and share the location where you're watching from. It's just good to know that you're here. Number 2, we ask that you ask any and every question that pops into your head. If it's one that you feel like, oh gosh, I don't want to ask that, I feel like they keep answering that one over and over, don't matter. Put it out there. There's new folks watching every single week, and we put these replays up on YouTube. So the replays are up there on YouTube, and folks are going to get lots and lots and lots of use out of them. So ask your questions. And then the third thing, and this is really the way that you can show your appreciation and help us continue this, is to tell people about it. If you're watching on Facebook, down at the bottom, there's a share button. You can click that, or you can tag folks in the comment section who you think would appreciate it. So that's how we do things here. We try to do our best to make sure to get to all the questions that are asked live in Facebook first, and then we've got a list of questions that we're going to get to. So we've got Rebecca here. Hello, Louisiana. Hello, Louisa. So happy you're joining Steve Edwards in Q&A session today. So we've got Louisa watching. How do I do this? Will it just start? Yes. So we're glad that you, Rebecca, and you, Louisa, are here. We've got Tracy. We've got Gloria. We've got a lot of folks hanging out. Steve, should we get into our first question?
Yeah, let me give me incognito here. You know,
Yeah,
there we go.
full incon.
There we go.
This is Steve Edwards resort mode right there.
Yeah, resort mode. There we
Resort,
are.
resort mode.
I thought I was in resort mode at a restaurant here. I don't know, 2, 3 weeks ago, and the guy comes over to the table and he says, "Are you Steve Edwards?" And I'm dressed just like I am now. You know, almost like it, and no cowboy hat, nothing looked like cowboy. And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." I said, "How'd you know?" He says, "I could tell by your voice." There you are.
Well, you know what? It's like that cowboy. It's just stuck with you.
There you
Can't
go.
take the cowboy out of you.
I'm going to apply for government money because I speak cowboy, and it's hard for a lot of people to understand at times. It just like there's some folks that apply for ebonics, and I'm going to apply for cowboy. Give me some of the government money.
You'll be the next code talkers right there. We don't
There you
understand what
are.
this guy's saying right here. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, let's get to the first
Let's
one. And
go.
this one comes from me, Steve. I want to
Uh-oh.
get this one out of the way because it's a question. I told you, we keep getting this question over and over. So I want to do a better job of communicating on the website. Can you tell me that we've got a rope halter, and it's made a huge amount of difference in folks' lives because the knots are in the right place and it's fully adjustable. We get rid of those nylon halters. They don't do anything. They don't communicate. They don't put you as the herd leader, and we replace them with a fully adjustable rope halter. We've got two sizes. Can you tell me the difference between the sizes? When do I want a regular size rope halter, and when do I need to go up to a large size rope halter?
You know, I used to tell folks, give me some measurements, but the problem is the measurements weren't always correct. So I basically have a small or a regular, and I have a draft. And the best way to do it is just say, okay, does your mule weigh under 900 pounds or over 900 pounds? And once in a while, I'll get one that'll fool me, like a lot of your donkeys. They have some pretty good sized heads, especially when you get into the mammoths.
Yeah.
But and then you get into the smaller ones. But the nice thing about it, it is adjustable. So you know you just adjust it down and fit it, and away you go. And that's the great thing about being able to. You need to adjust it in order to communicate correctly.
So I remember for the longest time, we just had one size, and then there would be a few here or there that would just be too big, like Rufus down at Andrada Ranch. He's got a big head, several hundred pounds just for the head.
Yeah.
So there would be a few. So for the most part, the regular size is going to work on a lot of the mules. It's just
That's
your big
right.
ones, your 16 hands high and kind of bigger. That might be a good measurement.
Yeah, somewhere in that 1,000 pound range. It's you bet. But usually the majority of saddle mules use the regular bridle.
There we go. All right. I'm glad we got that out of the way there. We've got Richard watching over on YouTube. Says, Richard from Palestine, Texas. Happy birthday. I hope you got lucky. Let's see. Hey, Steve and Dave watching from Georgetown, Kentucky. Let's see. Nash, Dave from Georgia. Got my bits and rigging them up now. Lolly Lovin just learned that Supai, Arizona receives their mail by mule. Just
Yes.
might move. Hey, all, Wisconsin here. Been in many places. Howdy from Castle Rock. I get mixed opinions on let's get this one. I get mixed opinions on alfalfa versus grass hay. Can you please elaborate on why you think one is more appropriate than the other for feeding mules?
Well, the number one thing, the alfalfa hay is way too tough on the urinary tract of your mules. Way too tough. It is. If you've ever talked to a veterinarian, maybe see them on the phone. I mean, on the internet. But they have these almost like little golf ball sizes and even bigger that start building up because of the minerals that's in the alfalfa. And the downside of that is it can give you blockage and this sort of thing in your urinary tract. All right, but here's the biggest thing: too much sugar content in alfalfa. It's way too much. They cannot handle the amount of carbohydrates in their systems, your mules and your donkeys. Your mules get it from the donkey side, and a donkey is just natural for them. And they get that big crest along the top of the neck, and they get that big crest along the dock of the tail, and they get that big crest across the top of the ribs. Hold on a second. I saw my puppy go over that
Uh-oh.
way.
So while Steve's checking that
Oh,
out,
you
I've
got
put
it.
it.
No, you just got him. Okay, we're good.
All right. Continue on there.
So anyway, that's the downside is feeding all that real heavy leafy alfalfa feed. And believe me, I can read the article. Mules can't stand prosperity
Yeah.
because that's exactly what happened over at the Phoenix Zoo. I put together the first mule trainers program there, and they got a new nutritionist come in, and she says, "Oh, you're not feeding these horses, mules, and donkeys right. They need to have ABC." So they started feeding them, and Dave, them mules and donkeys and horses went bonkers. You know, their mind wasn't there. They got dragged around. A couple of them even had founder. The heat from eating all that heavy alfalfa went down to their legs, and especially y'all, the first cuttings of alfalfa is really tough on you. And the downside of that is it's great for milk cows, great for beef, but the downside of that heavy mineral like that can sure make a mess of your urinary tract.
So I've put in the comments section both the Mules Can't Stand Prosperity article, and then also we've got some information on founder in mules and donkeys. So if that's a new phrase, a new term, or something that you've heard but don't know a whole lot about, I put that in there as well. You can go learn what you need to about grass founder and mules and donkey. So a follow-up one here from Lolly over on YouTube says, how much pasture do a couple of donkeys need? It's all grass. They're non-fescue.
Well, folks, you know, we could say pasture and we could say grass, but until we actually get the ingredients, and I'm going to use that word loosely, we actually know what's in that pasture. It can change. I mean, you change rain, and it can get into more sugar account. We used to always take our hay, and we had a long tube with a sharp point on it and with a handle on it, and we'd push it into a bale of hay, pull it out, and then put it in a baggie, and then take it into like NAU over here. I'm not NAU, U of A over here on Globe. No, in Coolidge, and the agriculture department, and they would test it, and they would say, okay, you've got this, this, and this, and this, and in this hay, and then we knew what it was. The same thing with pastures. You can go out and gather up some of that and take it into the agriculture system of your local colleges, and they can test it for you. And folks, these mules and donkeys, they don't need to be out there in a smorgasbord. They don't need to be out on pasture. You can't keep an eye on their urine. You can't keep an eye on their road apples. You see, those are two important things to tell you how healthy is your donkey, how healthy is your mule. I personally, I've got each one of my stalls are 10 by 20s. I do not put my mules and this sort of thing out on pasture. Don't do it. I never have and never will. Well, I did earlier when I was younger, but when I found out more about what it was actually happening to these animals, plus that their minds are a whole lot different. I got clients that told me that when they took them off the pasture and put them in small corrals, at first they were bonkers. And then pretty soon they got to where they were the greatest mule in the world. Thought, wow, what happened to my mule? Well, I took him off the pasture. They don't need to stand prosperity.
There we go. The other thing that it's not on the feed side necessarily, but it's also for herd leadership. If they're out to pasture, especially if they've got buddies out there, they don't need you for anything.
They don't need you.
They don't need to come to you. They don't need you for food. They don't need you for just about anything that they would want. So keeping them isolated, I've heard you say, keeping them isolated in their pen, it makes you the herd leader because they need you for food. They need you for water. They need you for everything that they need. And so a lot of folks will say, oh, my mule won't come to me. Well, second you become that herd leader and they need you, that kind of changes the game. Am I correct in that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I had a guy tell me here just this last week. He says, man, my mule comes up to me from the pasture. Comes up and I go to pet and scratch on him. Everything's fine. until I pull the halter out, and then he takes off running. You know, folks, they don't need all that feed out there. You're not feeding them to butcher. You're feeding them to maintain them. And you need to feed according to your use. You know.
Yeah, there we go. Good questions there on feed. We've got a few more people here watching. We've got Herschel over on YouTube. We've got, let's see, Gooey on YouTube. They get to make their own screen names. We've got Lucinda from Ellsberg, Washington. Let's see, Lolly says, then I need to have it analyzed. Yes, Lolly, the best way to know what nutrients and what's best for your animal is going to be to get a hair sample or blood work done. And the hair sample, Steve says, can be at the University of Arizona. What's the center called again? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, I lost it earlier.
We were talking about this yesterday. I'll see if I can find it here. Extension Center.
Extension Center, yeah.
Yep, I've got a link right here. I'm going to put this U of A Extension Center.
And you know, Dave, most of the colleges that have agriculture systems in them, they have those extension systems.
There we go.
And you know, they do this all the time. You can do hair samples. Your blood test is probably going to have to be done by a vet because he can do it quicker. But you never know. You might ask some there at your extension center.
There you go. Eileen is watching from Nebraska. Jana from Wyoming. Jana, I'm coming to Wyoming at the end of the month. I'm going to be at Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of my friends.
Jana's got quite a story. She called me. Well, actually, I called her one day just to say hi.
Yeah.
She said, "How did you know I was having problems?" And I said, "I didn't." You know, she says, "Well, I did." And I mean, she was really all upset and kind of almost into the crying stage. I said, "What happened?" She said, "I kept taking my mule in a circle to try to get him to stop because he wanted to go to the right, I wanted to go to the left." And I said, how'd that work for you? She says, it didn't. I got off and had to do some walking. I said, no. Look, folks, you do it one time, that starts a foundation. You do it a second time, that says, okay, your foundation is the way it needs to be. You do it a third time, now it's almost in granite. So you keep going around in a circle, guess what? The mule thinks that's what he has to do. It's what he thinks. So you don't want to do that. You know, what happened, Jana? What happened? She went right, left, right, left. She said, and that changed that mule. She said, I got this. I think I sent you the note on it. And it said, wow, you changed my mule. You changed me. Listen, folks, Jana, I think she told me she's somewhere around 60 years old. She didn't have to go to a trainer. You know, these trainers, they'll do all kinds of other garbage to them. You don't need that. You just need some simple little things. Right, left, and that fixed it. She's done.
She says right here, she goes, Steve has never failed to help me with my mule questions. I have a whole new mule. Thank you, Steve. So we love hearing that. Absolutely love it. Let's see. Yes, Rebecca is watching from North Carolina. Donna is watching. Let's see. She says Saturday was her birthday as well. So you and Donna have the same birthday there.
Hey, Donna.
Pam is watching. She goes, congrats on another trip around the sun. Let's see here. David says, Dave from Clark, Wyoming watching. He goes, is that the Festus saddle? The Festus saddle.
Well, I haven't come up with that idea yet. I got a really nice card from, lost his name now, and he said we should call it the American Heritage, was one of them. Yeah, I thought that was kind of good. Jana gave me a couple good ideas, too. We're kind of holding on to these ideas and look and see what we can come up with.
So Louisa is watching us from Massachusetts. She says,
yeah.
Steve, come back to Massachusetts. We need you.
Yeah.
Let's see. David says, anyone in the Northwest Wyoming that can help with mules. Now, of course, you can always bring Steve out to the Northwest Wyoming to help with mules. But if anybody's out there and knows a good resource for David, go ahead and make sure to connect with him here in the comment section. Let's see. Donna says from Cibolo, Texas, love so much that you take time to help all of us. Let's see. Carl says, just bought a 6-year-old John Mule. Very nice-minded. But now it seems he's getting pushy. What would you say to a mule that's getting pushy with you?
See, that means he's in your space. And what that mule's trying to do, that mule's trying to move you. So he'll get in your space, and what do? You step back. He'll get back in your space. What do? You step back. He's trying to say, I want you to go here. He's trying to be the herd leader. So, a couple ways of doing it. If you don't have your come-along rope on you, then take the edge of your boot and tap him on the shin. Just give him a sharp little reprimand. And if he doesn't get out of your space, give him another sharp little reprimand. And that basically tells him, don't come into my space. Now, if that was a herd leader, they'd spin and kick him and knock him off his feet. So your little old tap on the shin ain't going to make any difference.
Next question we've got here. This one's from Paul. He says, Steve, I can't get the Lake and Light here in Kentucky. I looked at the breakdown on their website, and I bought alfalfa and Timothy pellets and mix it with some hay replacement pellets. Does that sound okay?
Well, it's like a good start. I mean, the downside is, unless you know what the actual amount of carbohydrates or zinc and this sort of thing, you really should know that. It's not a matter of just putting some cereal in there and putting some milk and call it good. You really should know what the ingredients makeup is. So like it's 12% carbohydrates, 3% zinc. You need to know that stuff, And there again, that comes with that hair analysis and this sort of thing. And yeah, I know, folks, it's hard you can't find that feed. I'm sorry to say, especially east of the Mississippi. But take the ingredients that's there and go down to your store and see what you can find. But remember, it is not the solid gold feed. It's a place to get you started. It's the amount of percentages and this sort of thing of vitamins and minerals that you got to have. Just feeding hay is not going to give you the vitamins and minerals that you need.
There we go. Let's see here. William is watching from Virginia. Lori says, hi there, Steve. Can I boast a little? Lori, tell us your story. We want to hear it. We've got Karen. Karen, it's good to have you here with us again. Karen and Paul Heatwell watching from Central Virginia. Today we tried to teach our 14-year-old Molly to stop pawing by attaching a chain to cuffs above her knees, like you said. How do you keep the cuffs above the knees? Ours wanted to fall down to her ankles. Maybe her knees aren't knobby enough. Another question I have is how... Okay, so let's ask that one then. How do you keep them above the knees?
They take you some baling twine and put it through the strap that goes around the knee, and then go up over top of the neck, and then put it through that strap that goes above the knee, and that keeps it from dropping down below the knee.
There we go. The second question was, oh gosh, Facebook just jumps all over the place. Here it goes. How long do you like your lead rope to be when you're leading a pack mule? So that's Karen's second question.
Okay, well, usually I like to have around 12 feet. And that's usually 12 feet of about ½ inch. Sometimes I'll go to 14. And what you have to do there, you have to think, there are times you're going to keep the mule up close to you, and there are times you have places where you have to go down into a creek to where you have to let the mule stand there, and then you go down into the creek, and then you ask the mule to come down. But always, always, always start with a come-along rope first, and that come-along rope will teach the mule to follow you on your cue. But otherwise, hopefully that'll be helpful to you.
All right, very good. Great questions there, Heatwell team. Let's see, continuing on. Jessica's watching from Port Clinton, Ohio. It's good to have you here with us again, Jessica. Laura from Florida is watching. We're glad you're here, Laura. Yolanda has taken us international. Yolanda's here watching from the Netherlands.
There you go.
Let's see. Nikki's been... okay, so Lori and Rebecca are talking back and forth. Says Nikki's been winning a whole lot of stuff in harness. He's turned into the best little driving pony. That is so fun to hear.
Yeah, he was quite the character when I was up there training on him about 5 or 6 years ago. But Lori's taken him a long ways. He's a better driving animal than he is a riding mule. But Lori, really, he should have been in a dog food can with most people. But Lori took him a long ways.
That's good. Rebecca says, Lori, I love seeing your posts with photos of Nikki. You two are an awesome team. That's really good. We love that. We love that. Let's get more of that here. The world needs more of that. Louisa says, Steve, my mule is not able to process first cut. He can only process second cut. If he eats first cut, he gets mind-blowing diarrhea. 1 year off of first cut, he is great. I tried to add it back into his diet, but he gets very sick on first cut. So can you tell me, we've never talked about first cut, second cut. I don't know what that is. Can you tell me so everybody knows?
Okay, so this is the first cutting of the year in the alfalfa field. You do not want to feed any equine first cut. Don't do it. It's really high in carbohydrates. It's the very first part of the alfalfa plant coming up. And it's great for dairy cattle, dairy goats, things like that. Or if you're feeding something out to fatten it up, it's great for that. But it is no good for your equine, none at all. So if you thought I said use first cutting, no, no, no. First cutting is no good. And you know, that's basically what it is.
Is that something that you would ask the place? Is this first cut? Will it say that it's first cut? Is it easy to determine?
No, it's not easy to determine. And some of these hay companies, some of the feed lots know, and some of them do not know. So yeah, you just have to. It's best if you could buy it from the farmer direct, but if you can't, you just have to ask, you know, and see when the cutting is. Mm-hmm. The third cutting is the very best. It's the less of the carbohydrates, protein's about right. But again, folks, just hay itself, it doesn't have all the vitamins and minerals that you need.
Yep. There we go. All right. So Lucinda's got a good question here. Lucinda's watching over on YouTube, which for those of you who are just tuning in, hanging out with us, my name is Dave. So if this is your first time you're hanging out, I'm so great to meet you. I'm grateful to meet you. Glad that you're here. This is Steve. And we do this every Wednesday, so we hope you'll join us the next time we live stream. Just ask as many questions as you can so that you get joy and enjoyment out of your relationship with your animal, whether you're packing, whether you're leading, whether you're driving, whether you're riding, or you're just having a buddy to hang out with. We really want you to enjoy life with these amazing animals, and so we help you make those little adjustments. So if this is your first time, there's 3 things. Number 1, let us know that you're watching. So if you haven't said, hey, I'm watching, just tap it in the comment section there. Let us know that you're here. Number 2, ask any and every question that comes to mind. That's really what these things are all about. If you don't ask questions, we don't have a show. So ask your questions. And number 3, if you like what you're seeing, if you think other people you're connected to will like it, please make sure to share. That's really the only thing that we ask in terms of, hey, you know, we know that you appreciate this. If you could show your appreciation by sharing, that helps us get the message to people who are feeling alone, like you maybe have felt sometimes in your life, people who are feeling like they're going to give up, like maybe you have felt at times in your life. People who feel like there's no place I can go. Everything I've tried has not worked. I'm ready to just throw in the towel. We want access to those people. So go ahead and share. We want people to enjoy their animals, not become frustrated and find no joy in them. Lucinda says, I'm almost ready to commit to purchasing one of your saddles. Question, can you put the knee relief Fenders stirrups? So I'm not sure what that means. Put the knee relief Fender stirrups. Is that a specific type of fender or stirrup?
I'm not sure what she's talking about there.
So, Lucinda, give us a little bit of context there, exactly what you're looking for. But Steve, would you talk to us just very quickly about Fender stirrups and what that can do to your knees? We've talked a little bit about used saddles. Sometimes that can be really hard on the knees. Talk to us a little bit, and hopefully Lucinda will give us some clarification.
Well, your fender is what goes along your thigh, your knee, and down to your calf, kind of in that general area. And it's usually pretty wide, and it's usually fairly long, and it's shaped in such a way so that you can use the small part for your stirrup. So all your leather products have to be wet in order to shape it to you. That's what I tell people all the time. That's why my saddle isn't just full of oil, because it's important you shape the saddle to you. You wet it and you ride. You wet it and you ride. Wet, soapy water. That's the best way. And then every time you ride, pretty soon you're going to start saying, man, this saddle is just about the way I want it. then oil it and go from there. If you ride the Cordura saddle, which has the Cordura leather or the Cordura fenders, then the nice thing about it, you don't have to wet them to shape them, but you do want to turn them and keep a stick in them so that they'll come to shape. But the nice thing about the Cordura for folks that have lower back problems or they have leg problems, that Cordura is the way to go.
Okay, so she just posted in here. She goes, it's a specific type of Fender stirrup set up for people with bad knees. The stirrups hang at the right angle to the horse instead of parallel.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that now. Yeah.
Is that something that can be modified on your saddles?
No, it's actually the stirrup itself.
Oh, the stirrup itself.
Yeah. So the stirrup's more about an angle, where most of the time your stirrups are flat, but the stirrup is at a little bit of an angle. Some people, their feet and their ankles are a little bit different, and that stirrup helps them. It's easy enough to put a stirrup on. It don't take you 5 minutes to change stirrups on both sides.
Okay, there you go, Lucinda. Here's the deal, Lucinda, and for anybody else out there who has questions about any of Steve's tack, his saddles, things that you find on the store, or things that maybe we don't quite answer exactly how you need for your questions here on the live stream, you can call him. So 602-999-6853. You can go to the website, muleranch.com, and you'll see it at the top there. You can call Steve, leave a voicemail. He will get back to you. As a matter of fact, right before we got online here, he was on phone with a customer, called up, made sure everything was good. There was an issue with the store purchase. We worked it out, and all dandy and good to go. So Lucinda, go ahead and give Steve a call if you have any additional concerns. But yeah, we'd love to get a saddle shipped out to you and love to see you get all saddled up and send some pictures in with you in the saddle. That'd be great. Let's see here. Let's see. Susan watching from Pennsylvania. Doc watching from Montana. Richard says he just bought the Trail Light saddle. Says thank you. And then let's see. We got Mark Miller in Virginia watching. Let's hop over here on Facebook. Make sure we got everyone. Richard, morning, Chaplain Steve watching. There's your captain right there. We've got John Gibson from Franktown, Colorado. We've got Eileen asking a question. Todd from Wisconsin. We're glad that you're here, Todd. Sandy Ackley. Let's see. Sandy says, is the first cut in grass hay also bad?
Yes, it is. Anytime you have a first cut, your grasses are, and your feed and this sort of thing are all getting a lot of fresh sunlight. They're getting the best of the nutrients of the soil. And yes, it is. First cutting is never any good for an equine of any kind.
Yolanda here says, I do put my girl out in the field and she loves it. She also gets hay and sometimes reeds, apple branches, pear branches, willow branches, birch branches, and her whole grains only if she has worked, you name it. And one thing we know about Yolanda is she does everything she can to do right by her mule. She is she's a good owner there. And really saw her mule through some poisoning that had been in the water, and did a really good job of nursing her back to health. So Yolanda is just a great contributor to our community here.
And you know, Dave, that's a good point right there.
Yeah.
She said she's talking about how she'll throw in a willow or a limb or something like that. Listen, folks, it's one of my favorite things to give them something to do, because these animals are naturally grazers. Their teeth are erupting, and they naturally want to chew on something. And so, like in the Phoenix Zoo, they have Palo Verde trees over there, and they'll cut a limb off, throw it out there to them, to a mule or a horse, and they'll chew on it. They'll spend the day chewing and messing around with it. Matter of fact, if you give a horse or a mule or a donkey a wood fence, they'll have it chewed down to nothing in a short time. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to throw a limb in there of some kind. Make sure what you're feeding them, because you don't want to poison them. But here in Arizona, we feed a lot of Palo Verde limbs. Just throw it out there and let them munch on it.
Very good. Let's see here. Lori says Ray's birthday was on Friday. So mine was on Wednesday. Ray's was on Friday. Yours was on Saturday. And, there was one other person who said
Susan was on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Wait. Susan's was on Sunday?
Yeah.
Your birthdays are back to back?
Yes.
How did I not know this?
Yeah.
I've known you guys for over a decade. I'm I've got some work to do in my life, it looks like.
Yeah, what are we doing here? Yeah, and we've been married 51 years. That's why we're going to celebrate. That's why I'm incognito right now.
That's right. Yeah,
You know,
guys, don't be alarmed. Steve is not leaving the mule and donkey industry. He's incognito right now. East Valley Cruisers. There he goes.
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
once he starts talking, you'll know it's him.
There you
Let's
go.
see here. Eileen says, Steve, what advice did you tell the guy whose mule took off when he wanted to halter in the pasture?
Well, I said when he takes off, hoot and holler, throw your arms, run at him, make it uncomfortable. That's what you do. When they don't want to be with you folks, make them uncomfortable. You'll find the herd leader mare, she'll chase them, bite them, kick at them, squeal, things like that. So when the mule comes to you and you go to pull the halter out, he takes off, boom. Again, folks, they don't need to be in a pasture, okay? They don't need it. All you're going to do is have problems. Soon you can get them out of that pasture and get them in a 10 by 20 stall or a 20 by 20 stall, the better off you're going to be.
All right. Let's see here. Next question. Lori says, Steve, what are you eating?
Watermelon.
Watermelon. You were eating some grapes earlier, too.
Yep. Grapes earlier. It keeps the fat boy from chewing on cookies.
Very good. Let's see. John says, hey, you don't even need to call Steve. He calls me every time I order to make sure I didn't make a mistake. No one does that anymore. Amazing support, even from states away. We really like hearing that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Judy says, howdy, Steve and Dave. We are still in the Sierras. No Miss Daisy this camp out. Let's see. Doreen says, how would you handle an animal that wants to rub his head on you?
I would take my boot edge and I would tap him on the shin and get him away. Let me tell you a little story.
Let's hear a little story.
Okay, so here's the mule rubbing on you, right? Instead of hitting him in the head or smacking him, tap him on the leg with the edge of your boot on your cantle. Now, years ago, I used to think it was fun. I'd have the horse rub on me, then I'd have him push me, and he'd go a few steps and he'd push me again. And I really thought that was fun. Them old cowboys, they said, Steve, don't be making no trick horse. That's all it's going to do is get you in trouble. Well, one day it happened, Dave. One day it happened. One day I was back in the superstition wilderness looking for a lost kid, and I was looking down a mine shaft. You got the rest of the picture?
Oh, yeah.
The horse decided to rub on me right then and push me into the mine shaft. Mine shaft was almost 30 foot deep, folks. Yeah. But fortunately for me, I caught a little ledge like you see in the movies, I caught a little ledge and I caught some root. And my buddy's hollering down at me. He could barely see me. He threw a rope down about 8-10 foot or so. When you're falling like that, you're grabbing for anything you can grab.
Yeah.
And boy, when I got up, I hit that horse. Oh, that was dumb because that hurt after that, But it wasn't the horse's fault. I let him do it, Don't let him in your space. You are allowed to get into their space. They are not allowed to come into your space. So when you approach the shoulder and not the nose. You can go into their space, but they don't come into yours. So use the edge of your boot, folks. If they get too close for you, edge of your boot. Tap them, make them uncomfortable. Or if you got the cumberland hitch on, or if you got the rope halter, give them some hard wraps with the rope halter and or the cumberland hitch, and that'll make a big difference. They need to understand where their space is.
So really what you're trying to tell me is you do all your own stunts.
Yeah. Unintentionally sometimes, yes.
Oh, man. Well, what was it, 2 months ago when you got pinned up against the wall by that bull?
Yeah, that sucker, he broke his leg, and we took him about 2 miles. I was down at the Andrada, and we took him about 2 miles down, and that's horrible. When you see these animals, they get to fighting each other, Dave, and he broke the leg. That went $5,000, but here the leg is flopping around, so we got him down in the corrals. We let him stay there. We went and did some other work, and we'd come back. So we decided, all right, we'd put our mules in the front of the trailer, and then we'd close off the gate and then push the bull up in there. Usually he's pretty quiet, but I don't usually let him get alongside of me. I'm usually behind him where I can push him. Well, Randy was pushing the bull, and the bull got within about 5 foot of me, turned and looked, and hit me full blast with his head right here in my chest, and raked me, hit me and raked me several times. But you know what, Dave? God blessed me that day tremendously. I didn't have a bruise. I wasn't sore, nothing. I was really in excellent shape.
Yeah. Did a live stream right after that too.
Yeah, that's right. Right there at the ranch.
That's right.
Yeah.
Laura says, I have a 4-year-old I just got, and she will let me rub all over her and hold her head, but runs when I have to do the halter.
Yeah. Put her in a small pen, folks. Look, when they run off, it's their way of flight and fright. What they perceive is a problem. And so what you want to do, take that halter, watch the video. What's the video, Dave, of where I'm helping the lady catch her mule?
We've got an entire series of establishing leadership on YouTube. I'm going to put a link to that playlist.
Yeah. And see, folks, don't go in there with a halter saying, come on, put your head in here. Don't do that. Go in, have the halter across your arm, the lead rope across your arm, and it'll work good. Pet and scratch on them, folks, before you put the halter on. Pet and scratch on them.
Yeah. I'm trying to find that. I'll find the playlist. I'll put it in there in a second. Let's see here. Next question. Man, YouTube really or Facebook really just jumps all over the place. Let's see. Where was it? Okay, Nola, watching over on YouTube, so we're on YouTube and Facebook, says, hi, guys, and Periscope, too. We have a couple people who will watch on Periscope. If you're watching on Periscope, hello. Hi, guys, watching from Australia, international again. My question is, where do I tie the lead rope from the second donkey to the lead donkey when I go trekking? The lead donkey has a pack saddle on. Thanks, guys.
Okay, there's a couple different ways of tying them together. One, you can do it Sierra style, where you put a bowline around the neck, you go back past the tail about a foot, and and then you hook the donkey onto that. Now, you want a rope on both sides of the mule now when you do that, or the donkey. So put it on both sides, and then put a ring, and then tie, and this is important, it's a fuse. Take a piece of baling twine and tie yourself kind of a loop so that if something happens and then the donkey pulls back, instead of both donkeys going over the cliff, only one of them goes over because it broke that fuse. And that twine in there is really important. That's one way of doing it. My personal way is the way I like to do it. I'll take a rope and I'll tie it to the first front D-ring on the pack saddle. And this is 1/4 inch, like parachute cord. And then it goes back through the sawbuck, and you put a metal ring there. And then it goes back through the sawbuck again and back down to the front ring of the pack saddle. So you don't want to tie it to the back of the pack saddle, because then it can pull the pack saddle to the right or to the left. But if you take that parachute cord and go from the back of the pack saddle through the pack saddle down to the front D-rings, you'll have more balance on your rope. Now, the back mule, you want that ring, that metal ring, you want it to be at the dock of the tail. That's where you want it. That way you'll get a lot less of the tail having the rope get underneath the tail. And then you go back to your riding donkey or your other pack donkey about 4 to 6 feet. Now that's going to depend upon your switchbacks and this sort of thing as to how far back you put them, and water. So you'll have to be adjusting that from time to time.
Very good. Okay, so Nash has a question over on YouTube, let's see. The first one I've got is Baha'i grass suitable for mules here in the South?
I'm not familiar with that grass. I really couldn't tell you. Always take it in, get it tested. Folks, grass isn't just grass. Some grasses are high in carbohydrates. Some grasses can be high in zinc or some other A, B, or C. Always test it, folks. I know that's kind of new to a lot of folks, but I've been doing it for over 25 years. It's one of the reasons that actually I've been doing it for almost 40 years. What am I saying? It's one of the reasons I went to pellets, because pellet is so much more of a consistent feed.
Okay, so Nash has another question. Just to clarify, when the finished bit is in the mouth, the curve of the mouthpiece is on the upside, so the tongue goes under.
Correct. That's exactly correct. So you have the port of your bit right here.
Yeah.
Okay? And the tongue goes underneath that port. Now, you have to make sure your bits are curved. Make sure the curve is pointing toward the front of the mouth and not toward the back of the mouth. Have it toward the front of the mouth so that it sets in there. Now, folks, always teach them to pack the bit. So loosen the bit up about 1 notch or 2 notches. Let it hang down. Let them spend time picking up the bit. Let them pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. Let them spend time asking questions. Don't make them have 1 wrinkle or 2 wrinkles. Don't make them grin, and don't think you're being nice, but by no wrinkles at all. No, you're not. Let them pick the bit up and pack it. Let them figure it out, and it'll be great.
All right, so going back to the question that Eileen had earlier, what did you tell the guy whose mule was running away? She follows up by saying, so the mule won't become afraid of you if you drive them away from you, making hoot and holler and things like that.
It's no more than a herd mare is going to do. A herd mare is going to pin her ears, switch her tail, and attack them. That's what she's going to do.
Yeah.
That's what they do. But yet you will find that they will follow that leadership. They will, all the time.
Okay, next question. This one's from Mark, and this was emailed in. He says, hi, Steve. I have a question that you could probably answer for me about a mule being advertised locally. The only, quote unquote, the only problem we ever had with him is when he goes down steep hills, he will sometimes kick his back legs out and he's trying to kick something behind him. But we've dealt with it for many years. He would probably be the best in flatter country. Could this be caused from using a crooper or a britchin being too tight? I look forward to hearing your thoughts, Mark.
Yes, it can be from a crooper, but it can also be by not having that back cinch tight. It can also be from a horse saddle having the twist right at the 6th and 7th rib. It can also be from not having shoes on the back. Shoes are very, very important to be on the back because that's your driving and that's your brakes, okay? But if the mule is kicking up, guess what? He's telling you that saddle is hitting the scapula. And if you can get off and feel it, you'll see it. But most likely, the saddle is setting way too far forward. And remember, folks, when you're getting ready to go down a hill, always, always, always adjust the breeching for going down a hill. Remember, when you first set that breeching up, it was flat ground, and that's how you adjusted the breeching. Now, when you start going down a hill, the back end is going to come up underneath, so you need to adjust that breeching. You need to take it up 1.5 inches or 2 inches in order to be able to keep the breeching from sliding up the tail in order to keep the saddle back.
Next question I got, this one's from Rebecca. So Rebecca's watching live, but she also sent in a question on Facebook earlier this week. She says, coming from a horse owner's perspective, is there a reason why you would not cross tie your mules and or donkeys? Now, what is cross tying? And then is there a reason why you wouldn't do it?
Cross tie means there's a rope that comes from this post over to the halter, comes from this post over to the halter.
Got it.
And usually they have, the nylon halters have a metal D-rings right here, which pastures their jaw. Dr. Robert Miller, a very good friend of mine, he was a veterinarian for years. He can tell you that's the fastest way to get killed and get yourself hurt was with cross tie. He prefers that either somebody holds them or they're tied to a post or a hitching rail. It's absolutely the best way. In a cross tie, he's seen a lot of problems, and I prefer personally just to use the come along hitch and get them to stand still and quiet.
We've got a uh, uh, well, it probably wouldn't be relative, but we do have a trailer loading video, and one of the things that we did was when we were doing that trailer loading video out at Catherine's place, is you tied up the mule to the trailer and just let him sit there, and then you walked him back and forth, and then you just tied him up again. And then when you were working on going in and out of the trailer with the come along rope, once you were in there, you tied him up to the side of the trailer, and he was pawing and wanted to do all sorts of this thing, but eventually he just kind of relaxed. And so
Yep.
I don't know if that's the first thing that came to mind, but I don't know if that's really relevant.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing. There's a lot of halter work in there, folks. Halter work is your foundation for your mules and your donkeys.
Okay.
Halter.
I'll put a link. That does have some good halter work there, because that was the foundation of what you did to get them load up in the trailer. Let's see here. Next
And then
question.
going back on this deal with the mule, chasing the mule off, folks. If you sneak up on them, what are you? A mountain lion. You're a predator. You're a predator. So when it comes down to natural horsemanship, the sneaking up is not the way to go. Always approach the shoulder. But number one, don't put them out in the pasture. Don't do it. You'll end up with more problems than you can imagine.
All right. Next question we've got here. This one is from Beth. Beth says, "Hi, Steve. I really screwed up yesterday. Was working with my mule in the come-along hitch in a small ring that is on top of a hill in my big field. I forgot to close the gate to the ring, and my mule went to itch a fly on his face and dislodged the come-along. I went to fix it, but he wiggled out of it. He stood there for a second, then hightailed it through the gate down the hill to join the others. I was worried that I lost all my leader status with that move. Surprisingly, I didn't today. He was perfect. Love that come-along hitch."
You betcha, folks. Look, just because you lost a little bit in your training, it don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing. Just go on with your training. A lot of people think, oh, gee, I lost, I better get back on him. He bucked me off. No. Go back to your foundation training and start over again. You'll do just fine.
So next thing we got here, Sandra chimes in. So Sandra, we're glad you're watching, says, "I just bought your come-along hitch to help me with trailer loading. Haven't been able to try it yet. So I guess I'll just say ground foundation, ground foundation, ground foundation," right?
Yep, absolutely. It's one of the things that everybody's pretty much told me this past week of how ground foundation started it out. And if she has the trailer loading video, that'll help her a lot too. But I always say, yay, ground foundation. Yep. You get a good ground foundation, away you go.
Well, yeah, I've heard you say if you're not a leader on the ground, you'll never be a leader in the saddle or when driving.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Let's see here. Just cruising on through. Let's see. Lynn has the question, can I break my mule from wanting to lead on trail rides?
Well, let's just put it like this. It's not so much breaking it, but you can give it a cue. I want you to slow down, or I want you to be here. Always, folks, when they're doing something you don't want, it is right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left with your hands. So right brain, listen to me. Left brain, listen to me. That's what you have to do. And you may have to be quite tough and go right, left, right, right, left, really fast. You may have to. But the best thing to do, what people tend to do, Dave, is they tend to pull on them, hold them like this to try to keep them from charging ahead. And all you're going to do is teach them to do all 5 major neck muscles. So if I was going to do it, I would put them in the mule rider's martingale, and I would do what the groundwork does first, and I would get them soft in the face, and then I'd go out on my trail ride with the mule rider's martingale. And then when this mule goes to sticking his nose out, and this is what happens, they stick their nose out, elevate their head, and they got you. But the mule rider's martingale says, get your head down, get yourself balanced and framed up, listen to me. And that's what you need. The majority of these bits and stuff are just going to teach these mules to brace and stick their nose out, and they got you.
Let's see here. Next, Tracy's watching from Queensland. Tracy, good to have you here, hanging out with us again.
Queensland, Australia. Yeah.
All right, there you go. And
let's get on incognito.
Oh, and she says, nice glasses, cool shades.
Yeah, there we go. A little incognito. Here we go. My brother got me these.
Susan is hanging out with us, and she says, "Will the come along rope help with my Molly that likes to bolt the other direction when I'm leading her? She does this when loading in a trailer, or if we are walking or are hand walking to an area she doesn't want to go. She is great when I'm on her back, but on the ground she's unpredictable."
Well, you wait till she decides to do it on your back too. When you're in a saddle, she decides to grab her tail and go. She'll do it. You know, if she does it on the ground, she's going to darn sure do it up in the saddle. So yes, it will work. You'll see a mule in the video there, my trail loading video. This mule jerked me all around, and I had a split finger at that time that had been cut with a knife, and I barely had one hand that I was using this with. But boy, you'll see end result, that little mule did really good.
Yeah, that video that we had there, Catherine had said when we showed up, it was early in the morning, and Catherine had said, can't get them to load. Had 7 guys trying to load them up, pushing from this way, pushing from that way, and then within a matter of 45 minutes, he didn't want to go in right away, but Steve had him walk right up in there, and Catherine just stood back. She goes, "This is amazing. I've never been able to do this." And it wasn't you, Steve. Of course, you've got experience there and whatnot, and so you know what steps to take. But they're the steps that you're sharing with us here, and so it's this idea that no, it was the ground foundation and the 45 minutes of work that you did walking past. She had several other animals in stalls, walking past those animals.
Yep.
Saying, "Hey, no, you come with me," shaking that come along rope so it got the nose back, looking forward, straightened up.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a pretty cool time we had out there.
Yep, it was pretty informative. That's where you see the come along work and foundation training really work.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, next question here. This is Raven. Raven sent this to us from over on Facebook. Asked the question, "I just found your Facebook page. Hey, we're glad you're here, Raven. Are you coming to the Midwest for a clinic in Minnesota or Wisconsin?" Hey, the best way to get Steve at a clinic or an expo is to call the clinic and expo organizers and let them know, and have all your friends call them too and say, "Hey, we'll show up as long as Steve Edwards is there." That's how Steve got to go back to the Hoosier, because usually they don't have the same clinicians there 2 years in a row. But so many people called and said, "No, you got to have someone there for the mule and donkey." They called Steve back. Raven says, "I just bought a mini mule gelding. He's about 38 inches tall. What is the difference between your rope halters and other people's rope halters?"
My rope halter is adjustable. They're adjustable. They're not pulled so tight that you can't use them. I watch people all the time take a pair of pliers and they're trying to save $1 and a screwdriver trying to get the knots undone, and they end up sometimes screwing up the halter. But my rope halters are adjustable. You can loosen the knots really easy and adjust it right up to your mule or your donkey.
All right, I'm sending this right back to Raven so that can go unlink, go and check it out. All right, next question I got here. This one is from, let me get here, Charles. Charles emailed, "Is saddle fitting the same on a haired mule as on a quarter horse mule?" So I've heard the phrase quarter horse mule. I've never heard the phrase haired mule. What is that?
You got me on that one. Haired mule. Huh. Never heard that terminology before. But saddle fitting is night and day difference with your saddle horses compared to your mules and your donkeys. When I fit a saddle, I do not fit muscle mass. You'll watch these guys, they'll put all these different trees on there and say, "Okay, that tree's perfect." Well, that's great. That tree's perfect for a mule standing there, not doing nothing. That mule is perfect for that January mule that's 200 pounds overweight, fat, and sloppy. But put that tree on a July mule. Listen, folks, they drop weight just on one trail ride. They could drop 100 pounds. We used to add saddle pads and stuff. But when I quit messing with body structure and muscle mass and started going with bone structure, I'm there,
So he just sent a message back. I was going to reply back and say, hey, can you give me a little bit more information? He says, he beat me to the punch. He goes, the question should say gaited mule, but my phone thinks it knows what I want to say.
Yeah.
So
It
let me
happens all the time.
rephrase the question then. Is saddle fitting the same on a gaited mule as it is on a quarter horse mule? Tell me the difference and then go ahead and answer the question for him.
Well, again, I go by bone structure. I don't go by muscle mass. You measure one in January when they're fat and set around, and you measure one in July when they're thinned down and toughened up. Completely two different measurements. You're also measuring an animal that's setting still. The thing about my trees is they've been on animals all over the world, hundreds of them, probably thousands of them by now, and I see how these animals go. I can tell you when they're in pain. I can tell you when they're not going good. You can't always go by sweat pattern. Sweat patterns do this for you. They'll tell you what's good on that day when you got a real heavy, humid day. But you get a dry day where the humidity's down around 2-3%, you're not going to have the same sweat pattern. So I don't go by that. I strictly go by muscle mass, no. Bone structure, yes. I use my vertebrae, and it works great. The folks that want to tell you, hey, go ahead and get the measurements or give me a wire measurement here, here, and here, they sure know how to train mules, because mule travels way different than a horse does.
Yeah, and matter of fact, we've got a brand new course that we just released. It's a mule saddle fitting course. It's 13 videos. It has a 26-minute saddle fitting video of Steve putting a saddle, making all the adjustments, walking around, making further adjustments. It is the best training video series that Steve has done on saddle fitting, and it talks about watching the way the mule moves. Talks about watching the way the mule's shoulders move and why it's important to have a mule saddle with Steve's bars, not just a mule saddle that says it's a mule saddle with mule bars. The manufacturers, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They see an opportunity to make a couple adjustments, and they say it's a mule saddle. And you know what, folks? The thing is when you've got 40 years, you know exactly what that mule needs, and it's not okay to just say mule saddle. So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll say, hey, they probably are just trying to do right by their customers. Well, we've put together what the mule has taught Steve. And so I'll put a link to that video series. Oh, it's absolutely free. No charge at all. It's something we probably could charge $97, $150, maybe even $200 for. But we decided we wanted to make it free because we want you to see how to saddle up your animal to get the most out of that animal. We've got Luke watching over on YouTube. Glad you're here, Luke. We've got Nat from Missouri watching, Steve's granddaughter there.
Yeah, that's my granddaughter.
Let's see here. I've got a question from, gosh, I had it up here. And I just... will come along. We asked that one. Okay, I think we got all the questions on YouTube. I got another question here that was emailed up to us. Tammy emailed in, and this is something we have never talked about, at least I don't recall. She says, I'm in need of shoe sizes 000 for my Molly mule. When searching on eBay, it comes up shoes we wear. So like not mule shoes, people shoes. Just need to know where to order these. Thanks. So we've never really talked about shoe sizes for mules and donkeys. And we've never talked about where you should get them, especially if there's on the internet. Can you talk to me just a little bit about that?
You bet. Shoe size, you'll find that each shoe has down on the branch, that's the lower part of the shoe, they have the size on there where it says 0 or 3 zeros or a 1. But the shoe that you want is made by St. Croix. St. Croix shoes. They're great to shape. You can shape them really nice. They even make a mule shoe, but you still have to shape the shoe to the foot. But St. Croix, that would be where I would go for the shoes.
Okay. Let's see here. trying to find them online. We'll have to take a look and see if we can find them. All right, we're wrapping up here. I have another one that came in. This is a good one, Steve. This one's from Jenny, and I really love that we got this. Jenny signed up for the nutrition video that you've got and then sent this email in. I'm changing lanes, so to speak. After a long life as a horse trainer, I'm getting a mini mule to keep a horse company and to own a smaller eating machine. My knowledge of mini mules is limited. I understand the feeding of horses, but running into many different mule feeding plans. I watched your video and learned. But what about if you have grass pastures? Can they go out in them? Do you introduce them like horses? You suggested only pellets for food, so does it have to live in the dry time? Thanks for your input. Now, we talked about this a little bit already. The thing I want to talk about, the reason why I'm bringing it up separately, is this is coming from the perspective of a horse person. So talk to me from the perspective of a horse person wanting to do right by the mule.
Well, when it comes down to feeding the mule, folks, you know, you're going to find they eat way different than a horse does, and in some cases, it actually costs less money to feed the mule in the long run. But you got to feed them according to the country, according to what you're going to be doing, what type of riding you're going to be doing. But when it comes down to the feed, you know, when it comes down to pastures, that the feed that's heavy in carbohydrates, that's where he's going to gravitate to. Just like the kid in the candy store or us with donuts, right? And we're going to gravitate to it because it tastes good. Well, there's the problem. Mr. Mule goes to gravitating toward the high carbohydrates feeds, and then he gets grass founder. You can put a muzzle on him and let him walk around grazing, getting a little bit a bite there. Oh, pardon me. Oh, where'd that come from? Sorry. Yeah, my goodness.
You are already in vacation mode. You've got the shirt, you've got the hat.
Yeah,
you've been out there doing it.
There we go.
The glasses. Steve is in vacation mode.
I'm getting ready to take Jess up to the Payson for Jess Disneyland. Anyway, so it's the carbohydrates that you got to be careful with on these mules, and you know you can turn them out on a pasture for 4 hours, and then shake a little grain and have them come in, or something like that, or put a muzzle on them. You know, that's the other way you can do it. But they don't need to have all that feed. And again, folks, just because it's a grass pasture, don't mean it's not going to have a poor feed in it, because it can have a lot of carbohydrates, too much zinc. It can be lots of things. You know, just like when we go to Smorgasbord, we eat a little bit of everything. We end up paying the price.
Yep, there you go. All right, so the last question I got, I think this is the last question we got coming in. This one is from Jana, and she says, Steve, would you want to discuss how to get your mule to stand still while being saddled? So we'll go ahead and make this one the last one for today.
All right, so we put the come-along hitch on him, and we stand out in the pasture somewhere, or out in the corral, and as soon as the mule's nose looks to the right, we bump it. As soon as his eye looks to the right, we bump it. Anything that looks to the right or to the left, that way because you've got to see now, when the nose goes, so goes the feet. So, matter of fact, on my saddle fit video, I'm doing that right there with that mule to get him to stand still. I rarely tie my mules, but anyway, teach him the ground foundation training, and that would be, let's see here. I think I did that on how to communicate video about getting them to stand still. I think I also did it with a trailer loading video as well. It's one of my favorite things when it comes down to foundational training. But you need to use the come-along rope, and as soon as they move their nose, they're thinking about it, fix it with a sharp bump.
There we go. All right, folks, that's it. Oh, Yolanda had a comment here. She said, I want to find it. We love Yolanda. We want to make sure, get the saddles are a real pain in the neck when it comes to a Spanish mule. Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for the person to come back from her vacation so I can try and fit your Trail Light saddle, Steve. She's wanting to get that Trail Light saddle fit.
Yeah.
We're glad to hear that.
Be sure to get the video too, Yolanda, or anybody that gets one of my saddles. Get the video. Don't put that saddle on like you saddle anything else. You're going to see the way I set that saddle is different than everybody else's. That it's not, folks. You don't want that whole bar to fit. Put your hand in the middle of it, and you can feel up underneath the front. But you get the video so you know how to do it right.
There we go, folks. Steve is going on vacation.
Yes.
There he is. He's getting ready to
Yes.
go to Alaska, flying out tomorrow, headed up, taking Jess to Dog Disneyland up in Payson.
Payson. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So remember now, folks, anything you buy from today to the 18th, free shipping. There you are. Celebrates my 70th birthday, my wife's 66th birthday, and 51 years of marriage. We're going to go to Alaska. Now, last year, I took her to Hawaii. So I heated her up. Now I'm going to make her cold. Yeah.
Very good. So yes, folks, go get your orders in now through the 17th. Orders will be shipped out the week of the 18th. So in the days following the 17th, orders will be shipped out. So go get free shipping. It's the lower 48 states. So if you're in Alaska or Hawaii and you know someone in the lower 48 that you visit, and they're going to send up a care package to you, go ahead and have it shipped to them. If you're international, you know what? We love you. Hopefully you can get over here to the U.S., or if you've got friends or family that you can have it shipped to, and when you come visit in the U.S., do that as well. We're very, very grateful that you joined us today. We went a little bit long, had some really great questions. Y'all were fantastic, and we're going to go ahead and go. Let Steve get out of here and enjoy a week of cooling down up in Alaska. Get out of this 115-degree mess we got here in Arizona. Do a little bit of fishing.
I got a big one.
There he goes. Do a little bit of hunting. Thank you, everyone. God bless. We'll see you. Get your orders in. Have a good one.
Bless you. Bye-bye.